Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all. I, Shabina Khan, welcome you all to day 4 of Deeksharambh. Let's begin the day by inviting Mr. Imran Qureshi for the Tilawat-e-Quran. Mr. Imran Qureshi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa waza'na anka bizrak allazi ankaza zahrak wa rafa'na laka zikrak fa inna ma'al usri yusra inna ma'al usri yusra fa iza faragta fansab wa ila rabbika farghab. Sadaqallahul azim.
Jazakallah Imran sir. Thank you very much. Now may I request Mr. Irfan Chaugule to provide the welcome speech as well as introduce our first guest of the day, Mrs. Abhridita Chatterjee. Irfan sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shabina Khan. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You're audible, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today's webinar's chief speaker, Honorable Mrs. Abhridita Chatterjee, ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of BBA, St. Mira's College for Girls, Pune. And Honorable Mr. Chaitanya Purandare, Chief Strategist for Ferrobuild Design Systems. Our beloved Principal, Honorable Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh, the most helping and supporting Vice Principal, Honorable Professor Iqbal N. Sheikh, respected Jahanara ma'am, Head Department of BBA, Branding and Corporate Communication. Respected Dr. Shabana Sheikh, Head in Charge, BSc Computer Science, my all supporting colleague, and of course, last but not least, my dear students. As you know, we are enjoying and celebrating Student Induction Program 2021, the first awaited program of the year, where we all are eager to hear most valuable words and knowledgeable speech or presentations from eminent dignitaries. At the same time, we are welcoming new faces to our Pune College family. I would like to tell you, Department of Computer Science started in 1988 and it remains effective under the guidance of our visionary leaders, rather legendary leaders, Honorable Nisar Patel sir, the Chairman, Anjuman Khairul Islam, Honorable Ahmed Farid sir, the General Secretary of Anjuman Khairul Islam, and Dr. Hanif Lakdawala sir, whose techno-savvy nature and consistent and constant guidance help us to function the department smoothly. I must tell you, we are living in the exciting times in which the world has become more connected than ever before. While networking technologies have evolved at the impressive pace over the last decades, it is software industry which has made the real changes in human lives. The social networks, the mobile services, and more to cloud-based architecture, which introduces new needs and wants and draw the high-tech industry to new heights. Therefore, I welcome and congratulate to all of you for choosing BSc Computer Science as a tool to become a part of such innovative and evergreen industry, which gives in connection with, I would like to mention that our alumni are serving the world on smart and handsome salaries. at different industry platforms. Now I'm going to conclude my brief acknowledgement with this note. As one of the responsible faculty of the department, I assure you, BSc Computer Science will surely be your smart and right choice. Moving further, I would like to introduce our first guest for today's webinar is Abradita Chatterjee Navi, Assistant Professor, Department of BBA, St. Mira's College for Girls, Pune. Abradita ma'am is currently pursuing PhD in business practices, commerce and management on the topic of diversity and employee performance from Savitribai Phule Pune University. She is holding an MPhil degree in business administration and postgraduate degree in personal management. She has a blend of corporate and academic experience with more than 19 years of relevant work experience. She designed the social media campaign for St. Mira's College for Girls, including initiative the first TED Talk in 2019. Associated with St. Mira's College for Girls as assistant professor for past 7 years in various capacities, including being the vice president of the institution, Innovation Council, IIC, a Ministry of Education initiative, and the coordinator for Center for Women in Entrepreneurship, where she has successfully mentored and incubated students towards becoming entrepreneurs. She has successfully played the role of placement officer. Apart from imparting knowledge to the student in various fields of management for the courses of BBA and BCA, her previous engagement includes teaching management for the undergraduate with specialization in HR, law and marketing. Law and marketing at Symbiosis College, Aryan College of Arts and Commerce. She also has experience as a corporate trainer for 2 years in soft skill training. She written 8 research papers in national and international conferences and attended various faculty development programs and webinars. That's it. Thank you so much. Over to Shabina ma'am.
Thank you, Irfan sir. Shakespeare once said, "I cried when I had no shoes, but I stopped crying when I saw a man without legs." Life is full of blessings. Sometimes we don't value it. Now, please, may I request Mrs. Abradita Chatterjee to enlighten us.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, sir, for such a kind introduction for me. Good morning to all. Good morning, students. I hope you all are enjoying this session. I know online is getting on to us, but I think one positive thing is that, we have been connected from all across, all over the world, because thanks to online. So that is what we will look at as a positive thing. And of course, we are looking forward to the reopening of colleges very soon. So hopefully we'll all be meeting and we'll have all this in, physical way. So today I will, the topic that I'm going to talk about is about morals, ethics, values. And I'm sure all of us know what they are. It's just that it is, in every perspective that we look at, it's all different. But when I talk about it more, I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it. I would like to share my PPT. So can I go ahead and share?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Thank you. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Is it visible?
It is visible.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So ethics, morals, and values is what we are going to talk about. So I'll quickly take you all through a situation which you and all of us must have faced sometime during the life. So today we'll cover basically what is the difference between ethics, morals, and values, and we'll try to understand how to differentiate it from one another. So this is all, if you see, this is all how it's all interlinked. If you talk about respect, you talk about, philosophy, you talk about etiquettes, you talk about truth, honesty, all these are different characteristics which can be portrayed differently. So I'll quickly take you to a scenario. Now, many a times, what happens is that in life, I'm sure all of you have grown up, following various, you've seen your grandmom speaking to you, your parents telling you that, don't do this, this is not right, you must do this, you should not hide anything, you should be truthful, you should help others. And I think all of us have grown up with all these basic thoughts and ideas about morals. I'm sure your parents have read out stories to you. You all have in school had a subject called moral story, where the whole concept is revolving around truth, honesty, respect, love, helping others, etc. So many a times we ourselves are in a situation where we cannot decide what to do, because everything seems right to us at that point of time. For example, you have a very close friend who is going through a very tough time, and of course you have your exams coming up, you have to study, you have a paper tomorrow, you need to help her. But in the whole process of helping her, when the paper is on, you try to give her the answers, which is actually leading to cheating, right? But what we are doing, our conscience is confused, because we are trying to help her because she is going through a tough time. So you are doing your job as a friend, but you are forgetting the moral behind it, or your conscience behind it, because at that point of time that seems correct to you. So that is what moral dilemma is all about. So when we are unable to decide what to do and how to do and why we should not do this, that is what a dilemma takes place. Now, overcoming that dilemma and taking a right decision is sometimes very tough for us, because it's like choosing between what is right and what is wrong, and what is right at that point of time is not right for your friendship. So these are some dilemmas which we face very often, and it is very difficult for you to take a decision. So I'll just move on to the scenario what I was talking about. Okay, so you saw that you have been in fact helping her throughout when her mom has not been well, etc., and now you are helping her to give her papers. So actually, if you see, the moral is what you are helping her to cheat, which is not right. But if you look at it from a friend's point of view, a friendship point of view, you feel this is justified, right? So that is what our morals are all about, between choosing between the right and wrong. But then there is a very thin line which differentiates moral values and ethics. So we will go ahead and see what it is. Here, now next slide. See, morals are generally what? The social, cultural, and religious beliefs or values of an individual or group which tells us what is right or wrong. They are the rules and standards made by the society or the culture which is to be followed by us while deciding what is right. So as I said, the foundation is laid when we are babies, when we are children. That is when the foundation of morals are laid, right? It is told to you, do not cheat, be loyal, be patient, always tell the truth, be generous. I'm sure all of you all must have gone through, remember, incidents when you've lied to your parents, you've got caught, and you have, of course, justified saying that, no, I have been right, etc., etc. But finally, the end result was that, no, you cannot say anything that is not truth. You have to always speak the truth, no matter what situation you are in. So that is what we have learned over a period of time. Now, these are some of the characteristics of morals. So they are based on a sense of right and wrong according to the conscience of a person. See, the conscience of a person depends on the situation, on the perspective. Each individual is different, right? So when we're talking about individual, we are always keeping, there cannot be two same answers for a situation, because that is how we have been brought up. Moral standards are not established or changed by political or legal authoritative bodies. So what you have been following over a long time, nobody can come and tell you, now this is not what you're going to follow tomorrow. From tomorrow onwards, you'll change yourself. Now, that is something which is not possible overnight, because what you have been brought up with for 10, 15, 18 years cannot go away in one day or overnight, right? So that is what your morals are all about. Moral standards are associated. Ma'am, am I going too fast, or the pace is good?
You're good, ma'am. You're good.
Okay. Moral standards are associated with special emotions. When people act in violation of a moral standard, they feel guilty, ashamed, and remorseful. Moral principles must be made public in order to be an action guiding role in our lives. So, certain rules are all over, it's accepted in the society. And what we do is we just have to follow that. So we all know being honest is important. We all know that, it's important not to lie. So there are some more examples I've put in. Helping a friend is a good thing to do based on a value of friendship. So that cheating example I gave you, you can relate to this. That was totally based on value of friendship. But if you look at it from the college point of view, okay, or the school point of view, their ethics comes in, then it is not ethical. So we will go forward and we will see how we can connect our morals, our values to ethics. Now, it is bad to skip a workout based on value of healthy lifestyle. Now, this is again your perception. Now, for you, since you might be very fit, even if you skip a workout for one day, it's fine. But your friend who has been trying to maintain, lose weight, for her perception, from her perception, one day workout, to miss, it's a bad thing for her. So that is what your morals are all about. Working late at night is good thing to do because it's based on value of success. You want to be successful. You know there is no shortcut. You have to work hard. So what do? You're working hard. You're working late till night. That is what your this other example of moral is. Then saving our marriage is a good way to move forward. Now, many a times we know that, people who are married, they many a times have problems, but that doesn't mean that you end the marriage. What do? You are committed to it. So you continue, you try to sort out your problem and you move forward. So that is again based on your morals that you have. Now we come to ethics. Now, what is ethics? We saw what are morals. Morals, we understood that, it is something which we have learned over a period of time, something that we have learned from our parents, our grandparents, friends, society, etc. Now, when we come to ethics, what it is all about. So ethics is a system of moral principles. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individual and society and is also described as moral philosophy. So the term is derived from the Greek word ethos, which can mean custom, habit, character, or disposition. Ethics and morals relate to right and wrong conduct. While they are sometimes used interchangeably, you can use it. You can also call it moral. You can also call it ethics. They are different. Why? Because ethics refers to rules provided by an external source. I just gave you an example. Cheating is wrong. From friendship point of view, you might feel it is right, but from college or school point of view, because they have certain rules which we have to follow, which we have to, abide by when we are in that particular place. So that becomes a wrong. So here, when we are talking about ethics, we are talking about code of conduct in workplace or principles in religion. We all come from different faith. Every faith has a different way of following things. So this is just an example that can form your ethics. Now we will go on to what are the characteristics of ethics. Now, if you see, ethics is a set of moral standards and values acceptable in a society. Very important. We are talking about workplace. We are talking about college. We are talking about school. It has to be accepted. You cannot do. Discipline is very important, right? If you have to enter the school premises by 8 o'clock, can you go at 9 and say that, no, I got late and I want to, maybe one odd day, something has happened, you will be allowed to. But if that is a norm which you want to follow over a long period of time, you will be removed from the school. You will be thrown out from the school. Why? Because we have to follow a certain amount of rules and regulations that is laid down. especially in an environment where we are trying to either learn or work, etc. Because rules and regulations are same for every individual. At home, it can be different because, maybe we are 3 members. Mom seems to love you more. Then, your dad is maybe, not around so much. So these are just ways of, expressing ourselves and putting ourselves forward. But the same thing is not applicable in a formal setting, because in a formal setting, rules and regulations are same for everybody. So that is where ethics are born. Now, ethics guide human conduct or behavior. Very important. We have to. Now, suppose you've based on your morals, you've based your principles. For example, you have made up your mind. You are not going to lie. You're not going to cheat. Now, no matter what environment, what situation you are in, you are going to follow that. Nobody can come if you're suppose working, say, in a very good place, in a posh office you're working, and you see many things, and you tend to ignore things over there which you don't like, because you cannot change the system suddenly or the people around you, right? But you have a choice. You don't have to be a part of it if you don't like something. So that is where your values and principles, or the morals and principles that you have, that will reflect. So if you see your, just a colleague of yours who is into the, say, field of marketing, and, he has been maybe associated with the vendors, and he is favoring some particular vendor because maybe he's getting gifts or some kind of monetary gain in return. So in such a situation, what will you do? You have your principles, but you can't change your colleague. You try to ignore it, and you don't want to be a part of it. So that is how your morals, your individual morals, will influence your ethics, and it will reflect in your characteristics or in your personality. Now, ethics is perspective in nature. As I gave you an example, every person's perspective is different. If you go back to the scenario that I told you about, as a friend, your perspective is right. But if you're looking at it from the college point of view, school point of view, then your perspective is not right. Now, ethics relates to behavior of individual and groups. Ethics are not hard and fast rules. Ethics are rules which has been laid down and you need to follow. So if you go from one office to another office, you have changed your job, you will see sometimes what rules were followed in one office might not be followed in the other office, because they will have their own set of rules. So it is something which is not like, for example, Lakshman Rekha, but yes, of course, there is some kind of basic rules which are maintained. Like I gave you an example of the monitoring the time that you are, suppose you have to give in 7 hours of work in a work setup, you have to make sure you have given 7 hours. One odd day, some emergency is there, you might, wind up early, you leave early, but that cannot be a habit, because that habit will then lead to where your ethics are broken, and it will reflect on your job. So hence, it is very important that ethics are not hard and fast rules, but there has to be certain ethics which has to be followed in the formal setup that you are in. There exists no sharp boundaries between ethical and non-ethical. As I gave you an example that, many a times, certain things are happening, but you have to turn a blind eye to it because you cannot change it, right? So that is how the boundary is, defined in ethics. Then we have ethical aims at perfection in human conduct. So as I gave you an example, in the professional setup, everything is formal. All rules are same for everybody. And that is where it results into a human conduct. Okay, I hope students, I am not going too fast. I am giving here some more examples. I am actually going to give you a lot of examples because you will be able to identify with examples, the ethics, the morals, the values that we are trying to link together. It's all interlinked together. Now we have more examples. Now, doctors are held to a strict code of ethics when they swear the Hippocratic oath. They are bound to the rule do no harm and can be held accountable if they do cause harm to their patients. Now, many a times we know that, in situations where we have our family members admitted in the hospital, we have kept doctors at the same level of God, right? So why we do that? We trust them with everything because we know that they are there, and of course, behind it is the swearing that they do, etc. And their first ethics or principle of value is to save a life, right? So that is what an example of ethics is. Next is an organization like PETA, which stands for People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, pursues legal actions against those who do not treat animals in an ethical way. We all know that, many a times you will see a lot of, even you all must have, I'm sure, volunteered in situation like this, where a dog is ran over by a car or a bike. You have you have gone and helped, you've tried to reach out to people who will come and help, or volunteers, etc. So that is what PETA does. Now, employees often sign a code of ethics, which includes keeping important matters confidential and not stealing from the workplace, both of which would be fireable offenses. Now, many a times when you're joining an organization, I'll give you a very simple example. All of you all know about Apple, right? About iPhone, about MacBook, etc. And one of the reason why they can't hack into the system is because they say whoever their system has never, whatever software they are using, however they are developing the program, that has never gone out of their office, and hence nobody is able to crack it. Nobody is able to, you will see it's never attacked by a virus, etc. So that kind of confidentiality you need when you're working, and that is the kind of say confidentiality you have to have at your workplace. And you sign, of course, documents which says that you will not give out any information, etc. So that is another example of ethics. Now, lawyers, you will see many a times, all of us are aware of Aryan Khan's case, right? Just now he's been in the jail from 2nd of October, and he just got his bail yesterday. Today he's supposed to get released. So just an example that no matter what the situation is, you have both pros and cons. So lawyers have the, I think, toughest job, because as per their job, they have to even try and prevent a criminal and defend a criminal, and at the same time, I think they have to also keep their conscience clear. But then I think they are very bound by the ethics or the oath that they take when they become lawyers. And of course, we have two sides of everything, right? So Aryan Khan's case, it's been too much on the media, because everybody feels that, because he's a star kid, he has been, they have, used it as a means to extort money from Shah Rukh Khan, and etc., because they could not find anything in his blood report, etc. So many things are there. So I think as a lawyer also, it's a tough job. Another example, a student who helps another student. I already gave you this example: cheat on a test, breaking their school's ethics, even though they are doing it for moral reason, helping a friend. They are committing an ethical violation and can be punished. They can be punished by whom? The setup that you are in. That is the college or the school, because according to them, you cannot cheat, right? So you are breaking a code of ethics when you are doing something like this. But morally, your conscience might be clear, because you are helping a friend. I hope everyone is clear. Till anything you all want to ask me, students, or I can go ahead. Any doubts you all have? You all want to share anything where ethics and moral is? Should I carry on?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just carry on to the next slide, which is values. Now, in ethics, now we've seen what is moral, we've seen what is ethics. Now in ethics, value denotes the degree of importance of some thing or action with the aim of determining what is, what actions are best to do, or what way is the best to live, or to describe the significance of different action. So when you act on it, it becomes your value. A value is a belief that something is good and desirable. So we'll see examples also. Now, characteristics of values. Values are often vaguely defined by an individual. Values support individual needs. Now we'll see values might again differ from individual to individual. You might have different values. Your friend might have different value. When you're working in a work setup, you'll see your boss or your immediate manager has a different set of values. So value changes as needs and circumstances changes. So your values can change when your needs and circumstances are also changing. You can even adapt to different, extend your value set to something else. So values may be inculcated through learning or adopted as a result of life experience. So when you've had a bad experience in your life, okay, your life has always revolved around friends. You've always helped friends. You've always gone ahead and done too much for your friends. And when the time came, you saw that there was nobody who was there for you. So that is a learning lesson for you. And what do? You change yourself, and you decide that this is not how I'm going to be. I am going to be different from now on, because when it was my turn, I didn't have anybody by my side. So it is something where you have learned from your experience. Most of the basic values are learned early in life from family, friends, neighborhood, schools. I think school and family are the most important factor in developing your values and morals, because that is where we are spending the most amount of time. So that leaves a big impression on our lives. Values may be specific, such as honoring one's parents or owning a home, or they may be general, such as health, love, and democracy. Value systems can be different from culture to culture. Values are also different from each person, which I already explained. While one person might value honesty, another might value wealth. Now, this is a very good example when we're talking about, I believe in honesty, so I will take the right path and I will follow the right path. But another person believes in, values wealth, so is ready to compromise on all the morals, all the principles that he has or she has over a period of time, and reach his only goal, which is wealth. And in that road or path that he has taken, he might land up doing a lot of wrong things. He's fine with it because his value is wealth. And this is just the basic difference between moral, values, and ethics. If you conclude everything, what it is: values, what you think or believe about something; morals, knowing the difference between right and wrong; and ethics is morals and action, values in action. So when you act based on your morals and values, it becomes your ethics. So these are the differences. And then we come to how ethics and morals are all interlinked. So some examples I'm giving you. If a son of a big politician has committed a crime and he uses his power to free his son from legal consequences, then this act is immoral because the politician is trying to save a culprit. And we all know this is a very common situation in the day and time that we are living now. That is how I give you an example of Aryan Khan. Why? Because he was not even, he had not even taken drugs. His reports were all clear, but he was still in the jail for such a long time. Whereas you have, other people doing worse things and they are out of jail in 2 days. Entire family was killed, etc. Let's not get into names, but we've had situations. But the car was, so many accidents we see which is happening where they have killed people and they are out of jail. But here in this case, they were not able to take them out because of whatever, the reason behind it, we don't know as yet. Then another example, a very close friend or relative of an interviewer comes for an interview, and without asking a single question, he selects him. This act is unethical because the selection process must be transparent and unbiased. So what, if your relative is applying, but there are 20 other people who have hopes, and out of that, there might be some who are really needy for the job, and you're not giving a fair chance to anybody. You are just, just because this particular person is your relative or your nephew or niece, you're just taking her without giving a chance to others. So this is also something which is wrong and not ethical. Then another one, a grocer sells adulterated products to his customers to earn more profit. This act is neither moral nor ethical because he is cheating his customers and profession at the same time. Now, if you know, for one person, generally for one person, the entire community is many times, blamed for it. So here the profession, what he is into, now, because of him, the entire community of grocers will be suffering, right? People will think twice before buying things from them because they'll feel if one of them is doing, all of them are doing the same thing. So he's cheating the customers as well as the profession at the same time. So this is what broadly ethics, morals, and values are all about. So I hope I was able to reach out to y'all and give you all a update or a scene on what is the difference between ethics, morals, and values. Anyone wants to ask me questions? You want to share anything?
Dear students, if you want to ask anything, any question, ask now.
I think some student has put up a message. What are the ethics of teachers? Is it? Okay. Why don't you say, what do you think the ethics of teachers should be? Our first basic ethics under the college setup is to impart knowledge. That is our first basic duty. And then, as you all know, like, see, even in this COVID, it's been almost now, 2 years, students have not come to college, right? But I think we as teachers, we've not got, even a chance to interact with you on one-to-one. We've been interacting online. And I think we have been very fair, whether it has been one student or two students or 10 students, everybody has been treated the same way, or we've not been biased to anybody because, of the online mode, right? And we've tried our best to impart. We've made things easy for you all. We have made even the exams, easy for you all, because we know it's a difficult situation everybody is in. And I'm sure for you all to come back and get back to the normal routine where you have to go back to studying and writing descriptive paper, I'm sure is going to be a challenge again. But I'm sure we'll all, the positive part of it, look at the positive, you'll start meeting your friends, you'll start coming back to college. So that is what you'll look at. And I'm sure all of you all will get back to the normal scenario. At least I'm looking forward to that, because now I have had enough of, not having students in the college and sitting in the classroom all by myself and taking lectures. So it is a challenge for us too, but we didn't have a choice. And if you see, everybody will agree, teachers have worked the hardest in this last 2 years. I think we didn't have any choice. We had to keep up to all our commitments. We had to make sure you are able to understand, learn, your knowledge impact. There was no, a break in that. And see, the whole system of teaching had to be changed. And I think everybody adapted to that very nicely. And I'm sure from results, we know that students also have, being a part of it. So I'm sure we've done our part. So that will be all our ethics that you are asking about. I think that's it, ma'am.
Thank
I'm
you,
done.
Mrs. Abrita Chatterjee, for such enriching comments. Now, may I request Deepika Kinge to present vote of thanks to Abrita Chatterjee. Over to you, Deepika.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You rightly said that. 1 minute. I will. You rightly said that success has no shortcut. It needs hard work, and it's impossible without values, moral, ethics, love, and respect. Human life should be start with values and should end with values. Thank you, ma'am. I, Assistant Professor Deepika Kininge, on behalf of Anjuman Khairul Islam's Pune College of Arts, Science and Commerce, would like to give a heartfelt thanks to Abrita Chatterjee, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and giving your precious time for our students. Thank you, ma'am, for your impactful and uplifting speech on universal values like truth, ethics, and morals, which make human beings more valuable. Thank you, ma'am. We hope our students will follow your knowledge and advice to build their future career and make them socially responsible, more they will impart more humanity in their life. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful guidance on universal values. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepika ma'am, and everybody, all dignitaries. I am really honored, and I hope I've been able to, reach out to the students. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Abrita ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
Deepika
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, may I request Mr. Irfan Chaugule to welcome our next guest for the day, Mr. Chaitanya Purandare. Irfan sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shabina Khan. I hope I am audible. Okay, so I'm taking privilege for introducing our next speaker and guest, Mr. Chaitanya Purandare. Hello, sir. Chaitanya Purandare has been an entrepreneur since 1996. Between 1996 and 2020, he has completed his MBA in Entrepreneurship and International Business from Judge Business School, Cambridge University, United Kingdom. He has always working in a field of cutting edge and at times disruptive technology, be it genetics, stem cells, or innovative construction technology, which is his current position. He has helped evolve innovative products and systems that are slowly changing the face of construction, whether private or government. As we move from environmentally harmful construction to greener, sustainable, more affordable construction technologies. He is currently the chief strategist for Ferron Design Systems, using the world's only patented cladding system to improve the market acceptability of using light gauge steel as a preferred construction modality. His aim is to take his technology pan-India as the go-to construction system for the next decades. He is an avid reader, budding author, amateur photographer, and a rabid Formula One and cricket team fan. That's all about him. Thank you so much. Over to Shabina ma'am.
May I request Mr. Chaitanya Purandare to enlighten us?
Hi, good afternoon. I hope everyone can hear me. Just a quick check. I'd like to thank AKI Pune College for inviting me for this induction program to be a speaker. It's nice to see there are about 161 students here, and I'd like to welcome all of them. It's going to be a fresh new year and a fresh new way of learning for all the students. I'm sure they were happy. They didn't have to give their 12th standard exams in written, but everything has its pros and cons. Personally, if you ask me, going to college, there's no experience like that. You probably remember it for the next 40 years of your life. But well, the last 2 years are also something that the next generation will remember. Everything is unique in its own way. I am what I will do is I'll just share my screen. I will not take up too much time. I'll do the thank yous again a little later. So kindly allow me to share my screen. Right. Okay, I hope everyone can see that. I'm presuming they all can. What I'm going to, so the idea was to discuss about problem solving and critical thinking. And actually, if I were to take it on a very lighter note, the speaker before me actually gave a prime example of problem solving and critical thinking, wherein teachers and educational institutes had to address how to teach students over the past 1.5 years to shift away from offline teaching to finding ways and innovative ways to get education across to lakhs of students across age groups from 6 to 26. Keep everyone educated, keep everyone engaged, and yet do what they have been doing all these years. So that was a very prime example of problem solving and critical thinking towards solving problems. I think she covered up my lecture pretty well. but no, so what I'm going to do, what I'm not going to do, actually, I'm not going to give you a whole lot of written text and stuff. It is more to do with how when we work in cutting edge technology, how we address certain problems that go live for us. And we have to sometimes think on our feet to be able to solve those problems, to be able to take a certain technology forward, sometimes even to innovate, sometimes to be able to get something better than what is there in the market. So it's going to be a nice sort of walkthrough with what we did with our technology. You don't need to write anything down. I'm not going to be telling anything that you need to write down. It's just a concept of thought of how, as you go forward and as young entrepreneurs or you join businesses, how there are scenarios where you have to continuously think on your feet and go forward. So I'll just begin for the time being. Okay. Right. So I'm sure everybody out of the 161 would love to have a farmhouse of this sort. It looks gorgeous. For some reason, I just realized they don't have a car park. They have actually got a cycle parked outside their house. Probably they spent all their money on the house, so they don't have money for a car. But it's a beautiful house. Everyone wants a house like that. And when you look at problem solving and critical thinking, the first, and from our perspective, when we are entrepreneurs and we look at innovation, the first thing you do need to do is you need to question what you think is the perfect a model sitting in front of you. So one has to ask oneself, what is the problem that this beautiful farmhouse presents to you? And most of everyone will say, yeah, it's expensive, and probably stop at that because it's visually so appealing. But from an overall perspective, you have to, every situation presents a problem, and one has to be able to identify or start asking questions as to what does that problem exist in a specific technology, so that you are able to come up with a better answer. If that theoretically weren't the case, we would still be driving around in ambassadors and Fiats. Somebody asked the question, why not? How can it be done? What is better? And in our lifespan, we've gone all the way from an ambassador and a Fiat to a robot car, which is essentially Tesla. You have to question the set model. So let's try and find problems in this set model. So the first thing is to identify a problem. Now, where we come from, or where I look at it, you have to go back to the nitty-gritty. So it was a beautiful house. Here's the problem. There's a whole lot of environmental damage, a lot of labor, a lot of water wastage. There is a whole lot of consumable wastage, whether you call it cement, steel, other pipes. There's a whole lot of labor people on the site. The more the labor on the site, the more the environmental damage from human habitation, sewage, etc. Pollution of water bodies, use of a lot of vehicular traffic. So you're using up fossil fuels. So then you ask yourself a question as to if this beautiful house is going to be, and I'm sure you've seen this with any new construction site that you pass by in a city, even like Pune. You have a lot of rubble, you have a lot of dust, you have a lot of debris. You look at the fact that there is so much wastage going on. It's taking time. It's going on for an entire year. There are people there. The people use up a whole lot of, where they stay, how they stay, etc., etc. So the primary directive that we look at as entrepreneurs and as technology innovators or disruptors is how to change a set model. So how do we address a certain problem? So the problem that we addressed, say, in this model, again, if I were to go back, is if I were to make this house, can I make this house more environmentally friendly? Can I do something by which I know this building would essentially take you anywhere between 9 months to 11 months to build? Can I do something by which this house can be built faster? Can it be a more green technology house? Can I use less water probably? Can I use less consumables? How can I make this something that is more cost effective for a client? So in short, we had to sit and break down the very concepts of how construction was done. And what we realized over time is the moment you come up with a problem, you have to move. Not only does problem solving start happening, but the problem solving is linked to critical thinking. There are two ways to it. One is you solve a problem, but sometimes that critical thinking option has to come into play when you have to literally think on your feet, where either you question a set model or you try and find answers to a problem that you have yourself come up with. So you're questioning yourself, and then you're again trying to find answers to your own questions. So it is a loop of critical thinking that helps in problem solving and problem solving itself. The problem solving starts with asking questions, and the critical thinking is where you need to bring in definitive data from outside. You need to bring in a set of parameters from outside that have been done elsewhere to be able to address that problem and the problem solving part of it. So it's a bit of a loop. So what we did was we decided to shift from the way houses were built. Houses are built with bricks, mortar and cement and concrete and the usual stuff. So we said, okay, fine, let's just try and move it across to something that looks different. It's new age technology. Actually, it's not new age technology. The technology has been around for over 20 years in India and over 45 years all over the world. This is light gauge steel. It's extremely thin sections of steel. And so here we go. We have a solution to a problem wherein this is fast, this is quick. As you can see, doesn't require any of the messy stuff that goes with what we call concrete construction. There is less mess around. There's no water usage. There's a whole lot of advancement in the way a critical problem, like even a small thing like environmental damage, can be addressed with a change in technology. So the world shifted over after Second World War. The world shifted over towards using of steel as a means of construction, because cement was in short supply and the manufacturing of steel was in high production because of the World War. So they shifted towards steel as a more environmentally friendly method. And over the last since 47, so that's over the last 70 years, the world has shifted from using concrete and brick mortar to steel as a means of construction. So all buildings you see abroad are steel buildings. someone decided to get this into India. Now, but over the last 20 years, it has not, although it is much more environmentally friendly, it was theoretically more cost effective. It was environmentally way friendlier than what we have been doing all these years in our country. There still was a problem. The problem was it was somehow no longer affordable. So we were brought in to address the situation as to, if the technology is so much better, if the impact of that technology is so much more positive, why is it still not being accepted by the Indian diaspora, from whether you're building farmhouses, you're building resorts, you're building your second house, your first house, etc., etc. And so you had to again go back and question the logic behind how the technology was developed. It doesn't seem like there is a problem. The world over, they're using it. Then why do I have to question? Because a simple tagline at the end of it came about. It's somehow not being affordable. And for some reason, it was not strong enough. So as you can see, that's a lot of steel. So it theoretically should be strong enough. So then we had to sit down and question ourselves as to what is the problem in this supposedly better technology. And what we found out in this was that there is a problem with the way it was designed. So that's what I call it, solving the design conundrum. And we were able to work on that problem. How do you change it from something that's not cost effective to something that is cost effective? Of course, there are two parameters in it. I'll address the second one as well. So if you look at this, you can, to your eyes, you can see how much steel they have actually used in this building. Now I'll show you another one that we had to evolve the design for. Look at this. There is no, this is also a G+1, that is also a G+1. But if you see, the quantum of steel that we used to design this house is less than half of what was used to design the earlier house. Now, if you were to calculate, if you were to do the financials behind it, this becomes much more cost effective. So by asking questions and by understanding a problem and using a thought process, which of course has a lot of technical backup to it, which I will not get into, we were able to change the way a person thinks of how to design a steel structure. So critical thinking towards problem solving, where it suddenly went from being a heavy steel structure to something that was lighter, faster, and more cost effective. We were able to come up with a solution. Now, the solution essentially was linked to another aspect of this construction, and that was the wall. Now, traditionally, steel structures were, as you can see, it is just a skeleton. So I'll go back to the earlier one. So this is just a skeleton. And you would say, how do you create the walls? So essentially what they used to do is they used to put steel plates on both sides, or wood, or cement board as they call it, and fill it with cement. Now, so that was the wall. They have been using it in all over the world for the last 30 years. Somehow in India, it was not acceptable. Another problem out of a seemingly good, new, environmentally acceptable technology. Why wasn't it acceptable? So we had to cover. So another problem presented itself in a seemingly good system. The problem was not to do with the technology. The problem was to do with the mindset of the geography in which they were trying to promote the technology. Our country has been used to, for the last 1,000 years, for buildings in brick, not in brick actually, in stone. So in India and cultures like the Indian subcontinent or Africa, for them, a building has to be strong. So when you make walls that are made of fiberboard and they sound hollow, or if you put a nail in it and it cracks, or you put a cupboard on the wall and the cupboard falls down with the wall, they are going to immediately reject the technology. So it had nothing to do with the money. It had nothing to do with the theory behind the technology. It had nothing to do with the concept. it now had to do with a social problem. So the problem was no longer related to my technology. The problem was related to how people approach the final product and the mindset of not only those people, but the mindset of an entire society over the last 500 years. So we had to solve a new problem. And again, so again, you have to go back to the drawing board and address it and ask people what is it that they wanted. And this had nothing to do with either engineering or anything of that sort. So we realized that the walls were too thin and they were not accepting thin walls. So we worked on the whole system of how to create a new wall altogether to be able to be, presented to people which said, okay, this is a strong wall. And we, over a period of 5 years, we landed up creating, manufacturing and patenting a completely new walling system, which, as you can see here, is called the Ferron Wall, which is essentially a reinforced concrete panel on both sides with an air gap in between. The air gap helps in temperature differential, etc., etc. But the idea is, between the two of them, this wall is extremely strong. It can take a nail. You can, like they said in Africa to us, is the wall strong enough so that a herd of elephants will not break the wall? I said the herd of elephants will not break my wall, but they'll break your house. But that's a different thing. Also, why would you want to sit in the middle of a herd of wild elephants in any case? But so we had to evolve a technology, shift from using something that was, again, has been used in the West and still is used in the West as a standard walling. If you were to go to, say, the UK or Europe, I always used to tell my cousins and stuff, I said the most embarrassing thing to stay in somebody else's house in the UK is to go to the washroom in the middle of the night or go drink water from the kitchen in the middle of the night. The houses are made of wood. The walls are super thin. Everybody in the house knows you're walking around in the middle of the night. So it's like it goes quack, quack, quack. It's very embarrassing. So you just don't get out of your bed at night. But but for them it's acceptable. For us, it's not acceptable. This is very difficult to accept even in some places like the Middle East. So I was talking to the vice president of Aramco. Aramco is the world's largest and richest oil company in the world, Aramco. And we were discussing the panel that we had patented. And he said, Chaitanya, I need something like this because my mother-in-law is always complaining that you guys are fighting a lot at night. And he said, my room is at the other end of the house from where she stays at night. And she's still complaining. And he says, what am I supposed to do? Stop fighting with my wife at the end of the day? I said, well, you've got to change your walls then. So their walls are still so thin that the voice travels through and through the walls. So again, an innovation had to be brought about, because although we had found a solution to the steel problem, there was still another problem that came up, which was socially relevant to that kind of technology. So, like I said, every solution presents its own problems. Now, what I have realized that over time, critical thinking and problem solving, more often than not, leads to some sort of innovation. Because you are coming up with something new. You're trying to break the mold of what exists in regular practice. So you land up coming up with something new, like Tesla came up with the Tesla. Elon Musk, rather, not Tesla. So the point is, when you start questioning something, you want to offer something better. So the moment you sit and you have a lot of brainstorming, you have a lot of trying to get ideas into place, you're able to come up with more and more innovative technology. Now we had to do the same. So we came up with a product, and then people started finding problems in our product. So you had to find answers to their questions, for which you had to sit down and try and find out a simpler way of doing complicated stuff. Now, the first question that we were asked was, how do you know your panel is strong enough? Have you done any tests on it? So I said, what sort of test do you want? They said, why don't you go and shoot a few bullets on it? I said, I don't think it's very easy to just buy a gun and shoot bullets at a wall. But they said, no, we need to figure out whether it is strong enough. Kindly show us that it is strong enough. So we were dealing with the Government of India, Ministry of Defense, where we had to send this product as a wall product to one of their light gauge steel buildings in Kabul. They said, no, it has to be bomb proof. I said, now how am I going to test whether it is bomb proof or not? So we do a lot of work with students in MIT, and I'll show you how that worked out. So the first thing that we did was we shifted into a more technical software system rather than doing it the normal way. This is using Frame Builder MID, which is developed by a very nice designer called Farad Sakur in Johannesburg in South Africa. It helped us understand how a house looked in 3D. And that was very critical because it helped both the person whose house this was, or rather, it's not a house, this is actually a boys' hostel in Armament Institute Technology at Dighi, where they want, the student housing, and how it actually looked. So we were able to understand that a steel house that is finally made, how does it look from day one? This is how it sort of started falling into place. So this is a nice little resort in Shilimb at Lonavala called Wulmulu Resort. I don't know, the name actually represents, means house of, the name represents area of plenty or something of that sort. And yes, it's actually, if you listen to that song from Bhag Milkha Bhag, that is the word of that song. Wulumulu Wulumulu Wongaya. So that is the I realized that that's the same thing, and he said, yeah. So this is the same wall. So apart from that, so if you see so we use this for if you see the house, it is light gauge steel. If you see, we've put walls on the outside, and it was able to withstand the rain. It's a very high rain area, and again, a very simple thing. The whole house is built on top. If you see, it is 1 foot above the ground. So it was raised off the ground because he said, I don't want cement and concrete on my thing. So again, an innovation had to take place. So this is an innovative design. There are a lot of places in India where we've been asked to design Anganwadis, rural schools for children, rural schools, Anganwadis. And they have it different. They have it in the desert. They have it on hillsides. So they said, can you come up with something where we don't have to carry bricks and mortar and put it up? So this is an innovative design of how we were able to raise the house above the ground. So again, critical thinking towards problem solving. Every time there is continuously a new problem to solve. But sometimes it also works out. So this is a house we built in Konkan. It's a place called Hedvi in Konkan. And this house, of course, I will not show you all the other stuff, but this is sort of the end result. Now it's a ready farmhouse. And it actually 2 years ago, it was right in the eye of the Nisarg cyclone that hit Konkan and Ratnagiri, and not one drop of water entered this house. Although so there it proved to us that our technology was strong. It was able to take a cyclone of 360 kilometers per hour, standing on top of the house for at least half an hour. It was waterproof. The water doesn't get into our house. So all these little things we were able to sort out, which comes to my next. It's a very short video on how the problem I was addressing of, is it strong enough? So we had to innovate. Now, strong enough is I start throwing bombs at my wall, which is impossible. I can't keep shooting my wall, which is impossible. So what the students at MIT WPU essentially did was they took this panel to an excavation site. An excavation site is where they get stone done. They break stone from the rock from the mountain. And they said they convinced this guy to give them a stick of gelatin. So that's a gelatin stick. And they actually, so essentially it's a bomb. So they put this as to test whether the panel can take a bomb blast. So I'll just play the video. It's a very short video, so please bear with me. So the point of this video is, apart from the fact that it actually helped us in the research that the ME students at MIT were doing, it helped. This is a very classic case of how to innovate and critically think on solving a problem as to how do I do a blast test. If the government wants us to show that it can withstand a bomb, how do you innovate even that thought process to figure out how to get it done? Of course, this is India, so this jugaad can be done in India, but it was done. I mean, the students came up, we never told them to do it. They just came up with the idea, but you have to realize that every time you think we've hit a scenario where, yes, this is perfect, somebody comes up with a problem. And for you to say, oh my God, now what to do? No, you've got to start critically thinking how to break it down and come up with the best option. So sorry, I'll just move this along. The last one where we had to figure out what to do, again, we sat and broke our heads over it. Someone said, have you done a fire test? So if I was to staying in a room with your walls and the house was to get on fire, how long will it take before the next room catches fire? Or do I have enough time to escape the fire? Secondly, if they said, if I'm sitting in this room, how much of my conversation can you hear in the next room? Now, it is very simple. People ask these questions, but so I went and asked somebody who is an audio expert. And he said, Chaitanya, the band level of audio is 104 dB, which happens at Ganpati festivals, the loudspeakers. Human sound is less than 0 dB. So the probability of it getting across is very low. But still, I had to answer questions. So how do I innovate? I cannot make an entire room, or I can't go into somebody's house and start with these scanners and these temperature gauges. So we came up with an innovation. We said, okay, fine, we have to get the answer to this. So I created a box. The box has Ferron on the inside, and the box will get clad with Ferron on the outside. You can see the panels lying on the side. And again, at MIT WPU Pune, they are going to now do an acoustic test by putting speakers inside, raising the decibel to a point to see if it can be, the vibrations move to the outside of the panel, or whether you can hear it on the outside of the panel, and what is the decibel it can go up to before it becomes an uncomfortable noise on the external. Then they will use the same box and start a fire inside it. Put sensors on the inside, put sensors in the middle, and then put sensors on the outside, and see how long it takes for that fire heat to be uncomfortable enough on the external part before the actual wall starts getting affected by the fire. So it will give us a timeline of understanding what is the fire rating of the wall. Now, instead of me building an entire house or trying to burn an entire house down, we had to come up with this sort of an innovation through extensive thinking and problem solving as to how do I come up with something whereby I'm able to prove people the questions that people have raised, and which are logical questions. We can't run away from the fact that people are going to raise questions. So it is a matter of trying to understand how to address those questions logically. So I mean, I do apologize if I've gotten technical over the whole piece of it, but what I have been trying to tell, trying to put across over the past half an hour, which I think I'm going to come to the end of my lecture in another 2 slides, if I may, is to understand that everything that is set always presents a problem for those who want to question it. There are always those who will question it. There are some people who just have a habit of questioning. They're like, why? I mean, when we're kids, we ask our parents why for stupid things, but there is a tendency to question. And when you question, then you come up with a scenario where you might come up with an innovative solution. Okay, it's another thing just saying that, okay, I've got some answer to it, but that answer is not necessarily something that you might be happy with. You might have to sit and brainstorm. You might have to sit and literally think about each and separate problem to understand where it comes about. And that's why critical thinking happens in any problem solving solution. They're linked. They're all both together. There's problem solving through critical. You can't just sit under a tree and say, oh, I've solved a problem. No, there is a lot of thought that goes into it. There's a lot of approach. There has to be a lot of data that has to be taken into consideration. So the entire my without having given you any written stuff to read again or write down, which I've always been a backbencher. So the one thing I don't do is write down anything. We'll figure out after class how to manage this for lecture. So it's more of a, I thought I'd put across ideas that I have been through in real life problems and how we are trying to tackle each and everything to solve, and how much thought process goes into this. So that's where this whole lecture was sort of geared towards. And I do apologize if it got technical, or that if it got a little, sort of out of hand, considering that I'm talking about only one type of industry, which is construction. But that's what I'm working in. So that's what I'll, be talking about theoretically. It's more sort of a real life, on the spot experience that I'm sharing with you guys. And you all are all fresh entries into BBA, which is going forward. You all will be business persons, you'll be entrepreneurs. So as in both those sectors, critical thinking, questioning, and then wanting to find answers to them is very important. There are two things I would go do before I go. Okay, so this is another quick video of how the house comes about. I've been talking about putting up a light gauge steel house, so this is how it comes about. Have a look at it. Okay, so this house took 1 week to put up. Now, someone said in the beginning, I'm a rabid Formula One fan. So it's not about, I'm not going to discussing whether Ferrari should be winning or who likes Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen. Unfortunately, everybody in my house likes Max Verstappen. But the point is, I've always realized, and I thought back, and I thought I'd just put this 1 minute across. If you were to look at problem solving and critical thinking in an extremely short span of time, you're going to look at Formula One as a race scenario, where everything is governed by technology, which throws a problem at you. Oh, the tires are overheating. Oh, the left tire is overheating. The right tire is overheating. This is 20%. This is 40%. But the answers and when to do what in that short span of 1.5 hours, where probably millions of dollars are at stake, has to be done by humans. So the problem solving and critical thinking at what the computer throws back at you continuously is, Formula One is the epitome of how you require a large number of people to keep doing critical thinking at one problem, solving one simple problem. Is when do I bring the car in to change its tires? We think it's simple, but it's not. It probably, like I said, millions of dollars rest on those 3 seconds when you bring it in before somebody else or not. It's all strategy. And that again is a problem thrown at you by the computer. You've got to sit and solve it. So it's eventually humans that are using their brain power and their skill to solve a simple problem. Is when do I bring the car in to change its 4 tires? It's as simple as that. So I find Formula One to be a phenomenally amazing sport to be doing that critical thinking. My 16-year-old daughter watches it, and trust me, she also knows certain words which I didn't know till like last year about Formula One myself. But it's nice because they think in a lateral fashion. Before I go away, I just wanted to have 2 recommendations I've got to give you. One is I've been going through or reading or going through podcasts of this these people called Voice of Achievers, and they have a lot of beautiful podcasts that they do where they address problem solving, student pressure, how do you look at certain problems, how do you solve certain problems. And rather than reading books, it's very good to understand how real life people have addressed issues that they have faced. They also look at modules in communication, online and offline, whether it is emails or whether it is interviews, etc. So if you really have time, it's a good thing to have. They're on most of the streaming platforms. So have a look at them. There's no harm in listening to a podcast. I listen to them even at this age, and I have learned a lot from a few of them. Probably some of them I haven't, but some of them I have, so highly recommend it. Last, I'd like to thank the Brand Note, which is a company I actually started, and I mentored them last year. 3 young girls, 21 years old, who have started off their own social media platform. They do all my, they've done the entire work on my PowerPoint presentation and my social media. And they have really, I talk to them a lot because they come up with actual problem solving issues, and I learn from them because their approach to problem solving and critical thinking at the age of 21 is different to what I am at the age of 50. They have a much more on the ground experience. They know what the youth want, and that helps me understand how I should tackle my social media, as the questions that I raise to myself, they have answers, and sometimes I don't have answers to theirs, but they have answers to mine. So it's a very nice way of interacting with them, and they have done a great job with my social media platforms. So the brand note, again, they are across all media platforms, including Instagram. So you can have a look at that as well. And so finally, I'd like to thank AKI Pune College, Jana ma'am, for inviting me here again to give a talk to all of you guys. And thank you for your time. And I do apologize if it got too technical or it got boring at times, but I'm in a short span trying to give too much information that I think is necessary. I tend to talk too much, so I do apologize for that. But thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for having me here. And I wish you all guys all the very best in your course.
So much.
Thank you, Mr. Chaitanya Purandare, sir, for providing such meaningful insights. To conclude the day's proceedings, let me invite Mr. Abul Qais to give the vote of thanks. Abul Qais, sir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of management of YNM AKI's Trust, Pune College of Arts, Science and Commerce, I, Sheikh Abul Qais, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics. It gives me immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for today's session. I give a really heartfelt thanks to our Supreme Creator, Almighty Allah, for making today's event a grand success. By His blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it was. I would like to thank to our dynamic principal and mentor, Dr. Aftab Anwar Sheikh sir, and Vice Principal, Professor Iqbal Sheikh sir, for their continuous support and encouragement. I would like to say that we all are most grateful to Mr. Chaitanya Purandare sir for accepting our invitation and giving his valuable time. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Special thanks to our head of the department, Mrs. Shabana Sheikh Madam, for giving me the opportunity. I would like to thank all the other faculty members for their continuous support and cooperation. I thank to our technical team for their continuous support. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the first year students for attending the session with enthusiasm. Thank you very much. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Abul Qais. You all have been a wonderful audience, and we hope you would have learned a lot from our guests today. See you all tomorrow for the last day of Deeksharambh. Have a nice day and thank you. But before leaving, please fill the feedback form. Dear students, before leaving, please fill the feedback form. The feedback link is given in the chat box.